I just think right now, women, especially in business, this is the year of women. I just know that.
Life begins at 150 grand a year. Life gets better at 250 and life gets real good at 500. Nobody can tell me differently on it.
When you start teaching something, I feel like that's when you start to master the actual art of it.
You and I, when we publish a book, we can go toe to toe with any of the New York trade publishers, any of the big time authors. We get to compete in that marketplace and then let the market decide whether our stuff is good.
People forget sometimes as an entrepreneur, the whole damn point of entrepreneurship is to make money.
And now here is The Win with your hostess, serial entrepreneur, marketeer, and chief sexy boss, Heather Havenwood.
Have you ever wanted to stop swapping your time for money? Ever wanted to leverage your expertise by selling your knowledge to hundreds of people? I call that smart. And now you can easily and effortlessly, without a web guy, create memberships, online courses, coaching programs. Go to heatherhavenwood.com/thinkific. Start making money off what you know today. Go to heatherhavenwood.com/thinkific. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Win with Heather Havenwood. My job is to bring you amazing people to help you in your business and small businesses anywhere in the country and the world. And with that said, I just want to take a minute and actually shout out to our sponsors and Thinkific. Greg Smith, I just interviewed him, and you can check out that interview at heatherhavenwood.com. And Thinkific is about helping you as a small business take your information and knowledge and make money from it. So check out heatherhavenwood.com/Thinkific for that. Thank you for our sponsor. All right. So today, it's going to be talking about something that, don't worry, don't turn off the dial here, as I call it. We're going to be talking about taxes. Woo woo. So taxes are a fun thing, and I hate them with all passion. And I'm in conversation, I think, monthly with IRS. I send them money all the time, and I really don't like them. I don't like who they are. They remind me of the evil people in the black suits and the guns and all that kind of crazy stuff. I don't like the IRS. So today we're going to be talking to somebody who actually deals with the IRS or deals with the tax code for you, because, you know, it's only 2 pages long, right? So I'm introducing you to Diane Gardner. Diane, are you there?
I'm here, Heather. Thank you for having me on your program today.
This is going to be great. So as you know, the IRS tax code is only 2 pages long. So I'm sure you've read all 2 pages, right?
You bet. Got it totally memorized.
Right. Yeah, it's a doozy. I have to ask this question. Have you ever read the tax code, from the actual, it's like a Bible, right? Like, how many pages is it? Have you actually read it from ear to ear?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, right? It's ongoing, never-ending conversation. Okay, so who are you talking to today? We're talking to Diane Gardner, and she is your tax coach, is a certified tax coach, Quilly Award recipient, and best-selling author whose proactive planning approach gives clients a leg up on Uncle Sam and helps them dodge the tax bullet. Diane saves small business clients between $5,000 and $50,000 in as little as 60 minutes. Well, I'm going to put you to this little test there, Miss Gardner, because, you know, I've got my tax person recently put me into a sole proprietorship, which I told her not to. And now I've got this big old fat tax bill in 2015 of $5,000. So I want to hear from you, you know, kind of what you do first. We don't know what a Quilly Award is either. Either if you can help us out, that'd be great. But what does that mean as certified tax codes? What's the difference between that and a CPA?
Well, Heather, lots of different types of accountants and tax preparers and even financial planners can become a certified tax coach. So you don't have to be a CPA or an EA or anything like that in particular. A certified tax coach is somebody who has had some extensive training in how to utilize the various tax strategies or tax saving strategies that is buried within that tax code. You know, there's an awful lot of deductions and things like that that's available to a small business owner, but most of them aren't aware that they can take advantage of these various strategies because nobody has told them that these things are available. And that is the title of one of my books, is Why Didn't My CPA Tell Me That? Because they're busy operating their business and they bring their information into their tax preparer. The tax preparer gets the right numbers on the right lines on the right form and gets it filed on time, and they're done and they're off to somebody else. And you still don't know anything more than you knew when you brought it all in.
Right.
So a certified tax coach we like to work with our clients and help coach them to a lower tax liability. So we're not just recording the history that your traditional accountant tax preparer is doing. We're actually helping you write the future by utilizing various tax strategies that work year after year after year after year. And we don't have to tell you, oh, by the way, run out and buy a piece of equipment or run out and buy a car on December 31st because you need a deduction.
Right.
We're setting you up for success throughout the course of the year.
So how do you do that backwards, though? I mean, how do you do it backwards? So like for me, I think I was set up structurally wrong, right? From a tax perspective, not my lawyer did it correctly. But when I figured if I set everything up with the lawyer correctly, I handed it over to the tax person. I had no idea she was setting me up as a sole proprietor from a tax level from my LLC. So how do you help them when I go backwards in time? Can you do that? Is that something you help your clients do?
Yes, most definitely. Generally, I like to get a copy of their last 2 years' tax returns. And then from there, I do what's called a little tax analysis, just a quick, easy little, can I see some mistakes or missed opportunities? And a lot of times an entity type is one of those. Then I hop on either phone or Skype with somebody, and we'll spend about 30 to 45 minutes talking over what have I seen on that tax return, what types of areas are they potentially overpaying, and then if we have significant tax savings or enough tax savings to make it cost effective, then we'll move forward into putting together a customized tax plan for somebody. And then there's ongoing coaching that goes along with that. So let me ask you a question
on your philosophy. Is your philosophy, because I kind of have this assumption about tax people, right? I have this assumption of tax people that they actually don't like their clients paying the IRS. I always had this assumption, right? Which I've realized in my older age that I am incorrect. Just like I have the assumption that a salesperson actually wants to make sales and make money. Well, right? You're a salesperson. You want to make money, right? Right. We assume these things. So my question to you, is your philosophy like a win when you're like, yay, you didn't pay IRS. Woo. Like, do you get excited about that? Or are you one of those like, we got to play it really safe. Let's give them all the money possible.
No. As a tax coach, my total philosophy is legally using court-tested IRS-approved strategies to save my clients money. And to date, I am almost at $900,000. It's like $890,000 in savings for my clients, hoping to top that 1 million mark here pretty soon and continue going from there. It's getting exciting as those numbers are starting to grow.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? So critics would say, well, you're taking that money away from the United States of America and our people. I'm just, I don't believe that. But I'm just curious. If you've ever had anyone like, one of your neighbors, like, how dare you say that? That's $900,000 that us Americans could use it for Air Force One plane that's going to be bought for $4 billion. Right. Yeah. So, what's your philosophy to somebody who says that to you?
Well, fortunately, no one has ever said that to me because I work with small business owners.
Right.
And they're always excited. Wow, we saved $5,000 this year or $35,000 this year or $46,000 or whatever it happens to be. They're excited about it. I've got clients who have done something as great as purchased a commercial building with their tax savings and are basically making those payments, I say courtesy of the IRS, because instead of sending the big estimated payments that they used to make, they're sending a smaller estimated payment and taking the difference and paying off their building. Got another client's been able to build a custom home. It's been his dream for years. He was in the wrong entity type and he was way overpaying his taxes because he was doing his own tax return. And so we've been able to save him significant amounts of money. So those are win-wins when we're able to do that and just watch those tax savings grow year after year after year for our clientele.
So what's the number one biggest faux pas mistake that we as small business owners do that you've seen?
Undoubtedly, it's failing to plan because they get so busy running your business, doing all the stuff that it takes to keep that business chugging along and meeting your goals and that type of stuff that you're not even thinking about the tax side of things. And then all of a sudden it's tax time. You may or may not have made your estimated payments. And then you get the big, here's how much you owe conversation that just totally bums you out. And so then you go back to work because you're going to raise some money to pay for that tax. And the cycle just keeps repeating year after year after year. But when we can sit down and plan and actually plan your way to a lower tax liability, then at tax time, it's exciting because it's like, how much did we save this year instead of how much do we owe?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to you about off air, right? Which is basically, I was supposed to be a sole proprietor, but I was. And technically based on the expenses versus revenue, quote unquote, is like even, right? With all the expenses, everything that's happening. And I get this tax bill and I'm like, what do you mean I owe them $4,000? That's like impossible, right? $4,000 of what? I don't think we made a profit when you take everything into consideration. And $4,000 a couple of years ago. And, they're like, well, you blah, blah, blah. And it was interesting because I'm sitting here talking to my CPA at the time that I'm paying her. I'm paying you, right? That's my view. And I'm like, but why are you doing this? And she was like so annoyed with me that I'm asking these questions. Like, this is my deal. If you don't like it, then get somebody else. Now, of course, she's saying this on like April 14th.
Right. She's totally stressed out. Her niceness has left.
Oh, it's totally gone.
Yeah.
And she's saying this April 14th. And I'm like, what? And so then I, whatever. And then I do the next couple months and I'm thinking, okay, well, let's talk about planning. And she doesn't do any planning. And so I recently have fired her. Be the boss of your life. You're listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. Our whole world revolves around our smartphones now. They say we look at our phones on an average of 150 times a day or more. Look, if you're a small business and want to grow, you need to reach people where they're looking the most. Their smartphones. So text the word START to 72,000 now to learn more from our friends at Mobit, or go to heatherhavenwood.com/Mobit. Again, text the word START to 72,000 now. Be the boss of your life. You're listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. It sounds great. All about the conversation with, I see you did a business with a book with Dan Kennedy, who I love. Surround yourself with amazing people and surround yourself with people that know what they're doing so you can delegate and focus on your business. Blah, blah, blah. Sounds great, right? But I've been in business for years and I'm like on my 5th CPA. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm always looking for, and it feels like it's one of those weird things, CPAs specifically, like lawyers.
It is.
They look like they're cool, right? They look geeky enough, all right, big glasses on, right? They go to their office, there's paper everywhere, like, okay, yeah, this is right, right? And then then you get into what I call into bed with them or work with them, and you're like, what? Why do I have to pay the IRS $4,000 and your bill? What? So right. It's kind of like, I thought we were on the same page here. And it's one of those few jobs vendors where you can't see their work, because it's not like you can go to their clients, like they can give you the client roster and like, yeah, go to my clients, you know what I mean? And go ask them how much I saved with them. It's, I think, you're like a lawyer. It's like, how do you know when you're getting a good tax coach or CPA? Like, what is that, the difference? How do we know? How can small businesses know between our guy's good or not?
Well, in my book, Stop Overpaying Your Taxes, in chapter 3, we have a chapter called Why Selecting the Right Tax Professional for Your Business is Like Dating. And using that same correlation, you kind of meet for coffee, and then maybe you go out to dinner, and then maybe you'll go to a movie or something. You work your way up gradually till you find out, is this person that's going to help you run your business and help you become more successful in your business, do they have the same mindset as you? If you're very entrepreneurial, are they entrepreneurial? Most accountants aren't. Are they looking for ways to help you grow your business? Are they looking for ways to save you tax? And most accountants aren't. Most of them are very quiet and conservative, and they're great at reporting that history again. So it's really, really important. And we also give that chapter away as a little freebie out on my website because it's such a popular one. Because people are so curious, how do I find one that fits with me? How do I find one that's got the same ideas and goals and stuff that I have as a business owner? So
that's an interesting important point. You said that you're right. Most CPAs, my experience has been that they're not entrepreneurial. Now, I would assume, I don't want my CPA to be entrepreneurial, but I'm hearing that maybe I'm wrong in that view.
Those who are a little more entrepreneurial will be looking ahead for things for you. They'll be giving you little tips. It might even be a marketing tip, or, hey, I heard this really cool podcast. You ought to go listen to it. Or I saw this, whatever, and they'll share it out with you. where your more traditional CPAs don't do that type of stuff because they're just involved in what I need to do today, staying behind the scenes, just getting the work done for their client.
Right. Just get the work done and not necessarily look at, am I really, that was one thing when I would start to question my last two CPAs. I'm like, well, how did you get to this number? How did that work? It's like they got annoyed because I was asking, because I'm over here going, I feel like I know a little bit about, like I know enough to be really dangerous that I know that I could do. I could, if there's 2 inches of one part of the bedroom of the closet that I did business in, then therefore I should write it off. One of those, like I'm really, well, I did business on my porch one day. So therefore I should be able to write out the porch. I'm kidding, but I do try to do that as much as I possibly can. Like I do business in the kitchen. Like I'm on the phone and then I move to the living room and then I move upstairs and then move to the porch. So therefore the whole condo should be a write-off. That's how I view it. I don't know why the IRS doesn't think any other way. And I have 3 computers.
They have a little different take on it.
Right. No, I know. I'm just kidding. Just want to let people know, if you want to go check out Diane right now, Tax Coach for You, the numeral 4, Tax Coach for You. So let's continue this conversation. And I had to ask this question first. What is a Quilly Award?
A Quilly Award is an award I got for the book I actually did with Dan Kennedy.
Okay.
That was a multi-authored book. And that award was given out at a conference. I can't remember what year I did that, 5 or 6 years ago. And so I got that award for being a part of that book.
Okay, guys, I'm being a Quilly. That's kind of interesting. Yeah. A Quilly. Okay. All right. So moving on. Okay. So I just asked you the number one biggest mistake, entrepreneurs, small business owners make, which is planning, which is kind of esoteric, and it's fine. There's a lot in there in that conversation called planning. But what is like a number one thing you always see when you do an overview of inventory? You haven't taken them on as a client. What do you always see? Like the number one thing you always see they're doing incorrectly?
Well, probably the biggest thing that I see after the lack of planning is potentially incorrect entity type or a business who has outgrown their entity type. Because the entity type that you start business in isn't necessarily the one that you will want to stay in as you start hitting more the growth and then the maturity phases of your business.
Oh, that's what happened to me, right? So completely. That's interesting you said that. I mean, I went through a massive bankruptcy, and people always say, well, you should have gone through business bankruptcy. It was because I was structured incorrectly. And so I went through personal, right? And so I thought, okay, next time I'm going to do it right. I'm going to get a lawyer and did the whole thing correctly and thought it through. And then, boom, I made the wrong mistake again, which is I got the wrong CPA this time. So it's like, it's this constant game. I think that I'm very proud to be in America, very proud to be here as an entrepreneur. But I think at the same time, there's this constant game that you have to learn, this whole new game, literally like a whole new game of, entity and taxes and stuff like that to be able to be successful. So with that said, and not going to politics, but, as someone who's in the field, what's your take on, we're talking, by the way, just recently, the new election of Donald Trump. And now this is going to be coming out in January. So it's not really on the forefront of anyone's mind. But the whole thing of like, well, I can't release my tax returns because of an audit. First of all, with that, what do you think of that? Is that true? I don't even know if that's true. But 2, does it really matter what someone's tax returns are to be president? I don't think so. But what's your take as a tax coach?
Yeah, I really don't think it should matter what his tax returns say. I do believe that he can't release them as long as he's in the middle of the audit.
Yeah.
I believe that is correct. And as far as him taking advantages of some huge losses that he had and rolling them forward for several years till they were paid for, that's a totally legitimate strategy that we all do.
Yeah.
Anytime a client's got a loss, if we can roll it either back or forward, whichever is going to give them the best bang for their buck, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Totally legitimate strategies. And I'm sure he has surrounded himself with very high quality, sophisticated tax planners who will help him harvest any loss that's available out there. As other small businesses like yourself, you can't afford to surround yourself with the type of people he's got.
Right.
But you can definitely afford to surround yourself with people who know more than you do in areas that that all of us have difficulties with. I know myself, I'm not a real techie person, so I have a couple good VAs who handle that stuff for me, because if you waited for me to do it, it either wouldn't get done or it would get done very badly.
Right.
And so that's just part of, I think, being in business, is making sure that we're taking advantage of other people's strengths and their knowledge.
Right. No, that's true.
So that, yeah.
That's really true. And so as far as, because we're people listening to The Win and they're small business owners. So what can they start doing now? Because here's my question on the theory. I've been told you got to get an accountant and then you got to get a bookkeeper and they got to be separate, right? Or I'm like I said, I'm right now in the middle of, I'm in the middle of this process. I'm not kidding. I put it out there. I'm looking for a new CPA and new bookkeeper. I have interviewed like 7 bookkeepers. I have interviewed like 5 or 6 CPAs, which is, let me just say, for the life of it, it's not very fun to interview. What do you say to people? Hello, you're a bookkeeper. What do you do for a living? Okay, tell me about yourself. Okay, I look at QuickBooks all day. You know what I mean? Like, it's not much. I mean, so it's hard for me to get a like, well, tell me about your philosophy. And they're like, well, I do people's bookkeeping. Be the boss of your life. You're listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. Are you over 45, 60? Are you relying on the traditional medical field to help you feel great and get you back to a balanced body? Good luck with that. At e2lab.com, Dr. Don Salio got sick of people complaining about bloating, inflammation, and feeling sluggish. He has created unique, potent, and powerful non-pharmaceutical supplements to help the body rebalance, detox, and get back to being healthy. Go to e2lab.com, getting you back to healthy and balanced. Be the boss of your life. You're listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. So how can me as a small business owner and anyone, entrepreneur, how can we start the year off right, 2017, so we're not paying more taxes on any level? Should we get the same bookkeeper as a CPA? I mean, should we cross those? Some CPAs do bookkeepers. Should we separate that out? Should we uncollapse that? What do you suggest?
In my office, we offer it all. I actually run 2 businesses out of one building, and one is my traditional compliance-related accounting firm, where we do the bookkeeping, the payroll, the income tax preparation, and then the other business is my tax coach for you business, where we do tax planning. And it's all under one roof, and so that way the left hand knows what the right hand's doing, because as I'm laying out a tax plan for my clients, then my bookkeeping staff is setting up the payroll, they're setting up the ID numbers, they're making sure that once we've got the retirement plan set up, that the contributions are being made. They're doing a lot of the compliance piece of it that helps me be able to do a better job with the tax planning. So personally, I like it all under one roof, but that may not work for everybody. I like to be able to see that it's all happening, that somebody didn't drop the ball.
Right. But do you find also some clients come to you and go, I have this bookkeeper I've had forever, and then be able to work with you and say, I need your help to plan, do more of the planning and what I call big picture conversation. We want to build out 2 more offices in the next 2 years. What does that look like? What are the revenues we need to have that happen? Are those the kinds of conversations that we can have, businesses can have with you?
Right. Yeah. We see a lot of that. I like to get copies of their QuickBooks backups maybe quarterly so we can see what's going on and stay a part of the loop of what's actually happening with their business and with their planned growth of where they think they're heading.
Yeah, that's a big, I love watching The Profit. People who listen to The Win, they know that I'm a big, huge The Profit. And,
me too.
I love that guy. He's like the
Me
best.
too. It's one of my favorite shows.
He really knows his stuff, right? He's like a Dan Kennedy, like, what are you thinking? Why are you doing that? But he always looks at the finances, right? He's always like, let me look at the finances. Let me look at the numbers. But I think what's missing with small entrepreneurs, and you can see it in the show, people who've been around for 10 or 15 years or 5 years, their number one thing they have a hard time with is looking at the numbers in such a way that it's like a mind map, or they can actually start to make decisions from the numbers. I'm sure they've heard that before. I've heard that before. I've been in a ton of Dan Kennedy seminars where they have amazing people come in and talk about that. And it sounds great, right? But I've never had a CPA, or let's say tax coach, or, someone like that, who is literally helping me make decisions from the numbers.
Right. And I think so many small business owners get emotion in the way.
Yeah.
It's their baby. They've given their whole life to it. How can it not be successful? Instead of being able to step back and take that unemotional look that somebody else can take, whether it's a business coach or whether it's a tax coach, whoever it is, but somebody else can take that unemotional look. I know a couple months ago, I had a conversation with my business coach, and I was really frustrated because I couldn't seem to meet a particular goal. And she backed me off the ledge basically by having a very unemotional look at my numbers. She goes, well, if you just did this, then that would happen. And I looked at it and went, oh, I couldn't see it because I was too close.
Yeah, you're too close.
Yeah.
Well,
and so once we made that little change, we're on track for meeting that particular goal. But I had been beating my head against the wall trying to make that happen and couldn't make it happen. So
it's a really good point that you said that. I think, there's a lot of theorists out there and coaches out there. I am a marketing coach, so I totally get it. Where there's this conversation of, set your goals and then you'll hit them kind of thing, right? And yet there's also the philosophy of like, if you set your goals and you don't hit them, what do you do when you don't hit them? You know what I mean? It's like you're going to beat yourself up over the head over it, and then that doesn't help anything. So I agree with you. And, I know for myself, it's especially after the bankruptcy, I went through a massive bankruptcy, foreclosure. I mean, I lost it all. It was kind of like the lawyer said, give me a check for $2,500 and this will literally be the last check you ever write, and take the money out of the bank and you have cash and that's all you're ever going to have for a while. Like, you're done. Right. And it was just like, wow. After that kind of catastrophe, and I had people around me, I had a CPA, I had a bookkeeper around me, and no one was showing me what was happening. Like, no one was showing me the bleed out that was going on. It was just like, well, they were getting paid consistently on their monthly basis, right? And there was money coming in the door, but no one was really looking at the hard numbers of the stuff that's what happened basically. It's like there was money being stolen out of the business and I didn't know. And that's what was happening, right? And then it kind of all just blew up, right? And whatnot. So it's one of those hard lessons that entrepreneurs I still have a hard time looking at my numbers. It's like looking underneath the dress or something. Like, don't look in the closet, right? Like, don't look under the dress and don't look in the closet. Let's not open. No, don't open the closet. No, really, don't open the closet. It's one of those hard things. How do you help business owners emotionally go through that when you're looking at the numbers?
That's always a tough and a touchy area, because depending if the business is doing well or not, if they're not doing well at all, it's really hard sometimes to get that owner to actually, track along with you when you're talking about where they're going with their numbers. In fact, we've got a client that one of my bookkeepers and I are going to be sitting down and talking to him and telling him that he's been trying to expand very rapidly and it's killing him financially. He's not able to pay his bills and it's just killing him. And we've had the phone conversation with him a few times that, you know what, why don't you cut back down to where you were a couple of years ago and get solid again before you take off and start trying to grow like you've been trying to grow. And he's not wanting us to have that conversation with him face to face.
Right. It reminds me of one of the prophets. I don't know if you saw this one, where there was a single woman. She had 2 pie shops in California. And this one was the major one. Like, she built it from her baby. And then because she was successful, she decided to go across town and like do this other one that was totally random. And he didn't even know about it. And he gets into the other one and he starts looking at the numbers. He goes, you do know that this one is bleeding you like some number. Like, it was $25,000 a month or something, right? Yeah. And he's like, no, we're closing this. And she just, it was massive emotional, right? She lost it and she was upset and she threw into tears and in the bathroom. She went to the bathroom. And then I just remember this line because it was a female and, Marcus is a male. I just remember this line so well because it was so, I understood the hurt. She was like, it's my baby, And he said, as she comes out of the bathroom and her tears are kind of dried up, she's like, okay, we'll close it, He said, just think of it this way. You're getting rid of a boyfriend who's been taking $25,000 a month from you, or something. And it was like, that makes sense, like you're just getting rid of, you're breaking up with the boyfriend who's been stealing from you. Just think of it that way. And think of it that way, yep. Right? And she started laughing and they moved on. And then she was in the black again in her business because that particular location was bleeding her, right? And so do you have those kinds of conversations are you willing to have those conversations with your clients?
Yeah, I've had a few of them, not too many over the years, but there's been a few we've actually had to say, if you would do this, this is what it would do, or this is the amount of stress it will relieve off of your shoulders, because they're just about, barely able to sludge their way through life. The stress has gotten so bad to them.
Right.
And they can't make a good decision at that point in time. They're too beat down.
Yeah.
But if we can look at it as an outsider and have that conversation with them, or flip side, I have a business who, is doing really well, and they start talking about wanting to expand across town, across state, whatever it might be. And sometimes slowing them down a little bit. It's like, wait a minute, have we thought this out? Right now, you finally have gotten to the point where you can breathe.
Right.
Is this really the best time to take off and go grab a second location?
Right.
Because you just barely got where you can breathe
Right.
again. And, you've got your life back a little bit. Maybe we ought to stay put here and be happy with this for a little while, get you healthy again because of what I know that they've gone through to get there. So, yeah, those are some really tough conversations that you have to have with clients sometimes.
Yeah, and I find that, and again, this is generalizing, that a lot of accountants, I'm going to use that word broadly for a second, don't want to have those conversations. They're just looking at the numbers, and there's like no judgment. Like, okay, blah, 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 blah. You're bleeding money. You're not bleeding money here. But they don't look at it as a holistic situation of like, okay, let's look at this whole thing. Okay, you're bleeding here. You're not bleeding here. If you let go of this, you won't be bleeding altogether. And this would, more of a holistical conversation, right? What do you think of that?
Part of that might go back to what type of services did you engage them to provide for you? Because there's different levels of engagement. There's the engagement level of just doing your bookkeeping and they hand you off the reports and they're done. That's what you've asked them to do. Then there's engagement levels where you want a little more advisory type services and advice. If you flip that over into the tax world, there's the engagement of just preparing your tax return. That's all you've asked them to do. That's what they did. They're done. The next level up would be preparing tax projections and things for you. So that's a separate engagement. And then tax planning is a completely different engagement. So I think sometimes those lines get muddied between what type of services did I engage them for versus what do I think I engaged them for.
Be the boss of your life. You're listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. Are you a business owner that has a website but not tech savvy? Do you feel like a hostage to your web guy? The better question is, do you have a money funnel so people come to your page and give you money while you sleep? No? Then go watch free video at heathermakesyoumoney.com. Imagine having a money site, not a website, for your self-published book, e-commerce products, local practitioners like chiropractors or lawyers. Get a money site, not a website. Go watch free video at heathermakesyoumoney.com. Be the boss of your life. You're listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. For me, if I'm hiring somebody as my CPA to do my taxes, I assume they're going to give me advice. But I'm learning that that's not the case. It's like, here's your numbers. And then I'm over there like, why do I got this $5,000 tax bill? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, you do the numbers. Well, yeah, but doesn't mean I don't understand what's going on with your business. And I'm like, what?
I just put your numbers where they needed to go.
Right. I just put, yeah. I just got recently, that's the one that I fired, because that's what I finally realized was like, she just takes the numbers, she or he took the numbers and then put them in the boxes and then sent me a bill. And then I sent the IRS the money. Right. And it was kind of this weird, like, why are you not looking at this? If I went to the doctor, nowadays I can't say anymore, but if you went to a good doctor and my left arm hurts, they would look also at everything. Well, maybe it's the neck. It's not the arm. What's going on with your head? A chiropractor looks at holistic versus like, well, let's give you a pill to numb the pain on your arm. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just covering it up. It's not handling the situation. And so I always thought I was getting somebody who's going to help handle the situation for me, or at least explain it to me so I could handle it. But tell me those 3 levels again so people could hear it, because maybe they just learned something there too.
Well, in the tax world, you have tax preparation is one engagement. Tax projection would be a separate engagement. And a tax projection is where your tax preparer, your accountant sits down with you once, maybe twice a year, and will project out where we think we're going to be by the end of the year. And then maybe we need to adjust some estimated payments, or maybe there's some conversation about some small things that you could do to save some money here and there. And then a completely different engagement is tax planning, where you actually are laying out a customized plan that we're going to follow for the next 3 to 5 years, and then checking in with you periodically on how is our plan going? Are we fulfilling the things that need to be done? Is everything happening? Are the I's dotted and the T's crossed, basically? So 3 completely different engagements.
Wow, I've never known that. I just learned something completely. I hope you guys learned that too, because I had no idea. Maybe you're like me. You hire a CPA and you figure like all that comes into one. You never thought there's a completely different, let's just be honest. When you say engagement, that's a new level of an agreement, aka new price, right?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, potential new price with that. Let's just ask you. Let's turn it on you. So what part of those 3 tiers do you work with on clients?
We do all. Okay. We have some clients that all we do is just their tax return. I've got a bunch of clients that we've been frantically preparing tax projections and stuff for them for the last month or so, because as we're recording this is late fall, early winter. Working on lots of tax projections, lots of QuickBooks cleanup, so we can kind of see where they're going to be, coming up with a couple ideas on things that would help them. And then I have my whole tax planning group of clientele where we're doing some in-depth analysis. We're looking at their entity types. We're looking at retirement planning. We're looking at making sure they've maximized their home office deduction, or that they've really maximized their auto expense with their miles or their meals and entertainment deduction. Or maybe we're looking at, is it time to hire a couple of the kids to work in the business? Maybe we're doing some college planning strategies, or maybe we're supporting a parent of some sort, and maybe we can find a way for that parent to work in the business and be able to write that money off through your business that we've always been spending just as an after-tax deduction. So there's a whole lot of things that go into the actual tax planning part of it that is over and above just looking at what's maybe in your QuickBooks or on your tax return.
Interesting. So someone wants to really understand what their business is going on. They'd say, I want to engage with you as more of a tax planner, right? And that'd be a different kind of engagement. And it'd be a different kind of conversation. Well, awesome. Well, you got some great books here. Stop Overpaying Your Taxes, 11 Ways Entrepreneurs Overpay and How to Stop It Now. And a couple other ones, 10 Most Expensive Tax Mistakes That Cost You Thousands. So I absolutely love that. Where can they find you? Is there anything, a free gift that you want to give us, or just where can they find you if they want to engage?
Best place is to go out to www.taxcoachforyou.com. And we do give away copies of our books. We've got several niche versions of the 10 Most Expensive Tax Mistakes books, and you can get a free copy. We just ask that they help cover the shipping and handling on it. We like to do that free tax analysis I think I mentioned earlier in the interview, where somebody will just send us their last 2 years' tax returns. We'll take a look at them, hop on either phone or Skype, have maybe a 30-minute conversation, and see if we can find some tax savings for you. Because most of the time we can, not always. Because I do occasionally, I'll get somebody to send in their tax returns and they're losing money on their business. And it's like, okay, I can't save you money there. But, generally, if they're self-employed, we can always find something. Sometimes it's small, but sometimes it's really big. Like to just help people wherever we can.
Awesome. It's always those 2 inches in the closet you didn't write off, right?
Right.
This has been a very, very helpful. So go check out Diane at her website. And again, that website is www.taxcoach4you.com. Go check her out. Everyone, this is Heather Havenwood with The Win. Again, just make sure you check out our sponsors at heatherhavenwood.com/Mobit. Mobit helps you connect with your clients on different ways. And how you do that, you want to check out their service. You can check out heatherhavenwood.com/Mobit, MOBIT, as well as you can text the word sexy to 72,000. And you can get my free audiobook for free. You can check out how that service works. Check out our sponsors, and thank you for joining us on The Win with Heather Havenwood. Welcome to another edition of Heather Highlight. Here at The Win, I get to ask the experts about themselves, their stories, their views. And in this Heather Highlight, I am interviewed and probed about my story, successes, and failures. So enjoy. I'm more into marketing. I don't consider myself really into tech, right? So I was more into how do you take a product or service and market it in this new medium called online, right? So I consider myself a direct response marketer, and then online is just one channel, right? So that's kind of how I got started in the business.
I mean, that's awesome. And I love thinking back to there. I mean, as you're talking about this, I'm remembering like my web browser was called Lynx. I mean, there wasn't like pictures on it. And I think like this is really important for people to understand. I mean, this whole idea of the internet, even Google at that point, the only people that used Google were IT nerds that were looking to fix code back and forth with each other.
Right.
And so like all of these things that we have access to now are huge, like time savers, and they feel overwhelming, I think, when people are coming on. But back then, I mean, the internet really was nothing.
And that was a Heather highlight for the entire interview. Check out the link in the show notes.
Thank you for listening to The Win with Heather Havenwood. Interested in coaching with Heather? Go to heatherhavenwood.com and sign up for a business discovery consultation. Here is your free gift for listening. Get 3 audio chapters of Heather's book, Sexy Boss, How Women Empowerment is Changing the Rulebook, when you text the word sexy to 72000. Again, text the word sexy, that is SEXY, to 72000 and receive your 3 audiobook chapters. Number is good only in North America. This is a Sexy Boss Wrap. This podcast is a copyright of Havenwood Worldwide, LLC.